This week on the WriterCon podcast.
I think that people take their writing time way too seriously. So they're constantly writing me and saying, I'm blocked, I'm this, I'm that, I'm the other thing. My advice is that you do 25-minute writing sprints, which we discussed last time as well, but that you start the timer, you talk to a friend, and you don't take yourself so seriously.
Welcome to WriterCon, a gathering place for writers to share their knowledge about writing and the writing world. Do you have a desire to write? Every successful writer started with their first book. All it takes is determination and knowledge, and WriterCon can provide that knowledge. Your hosts are #1 national best-selling writer William Bernhardt, author of more than 60 books, including The Superman Wars, and Lara Bernhardt, award-winning author of the Wantland Files series and Shadow of the Taj.
Thank you, Jesse Ulrich. Hey there, writers. Thanks for joining us today. So, guess what? After literally weeks, probably months of anticipating this on the podcast, I can now announce that my new book, The Superman Wars, is actually out and on sale. In fact, I just checked the Amazon page before we started recording this because that's what writers do. Amazon is like crack cocaine for authors. You just keep going back and reloading the page. And maybe I've gone up half a point. Or The Superman Wars, of course, as you may already know, is the story of Jerry Siegel, the kid who came up with Superman in the 1930s, this symbol of truth, justice, and the American way. But he received none of the above. It's a story of Shakespearean tragedy level proportions, but it is also a powerful story about a family that stood together and fought for their rights. It's a story that, if anything, is even more relevant today when we still face the same challenges, art versus commerce, and writers absolutely must protect themselves from greed and corporate skullduggery. Lara, you are our resident expert now in writer scams.
That's because I don't trust anyone.
There you go.
Smart.
So does this story seem relevant to you?
I'm going to pause on that because I don't think we've talked enough about how amazing the book release has been. I don't know if you were expecting this. I was hoping for this, but I am thrilled to see that shooting up. And the reviews that are coming in are phenomenal. You didn't even mention it. You're being too polite to mention how amazing the reviews have been. We got to have Superman pizza on Tuesday night, and we had
that was on you.
Superman sorbet for dessert. So it's just been so fun, but also it feels so good after watching you work so hard for years, literally, to see that pay off and see it so well received. So yay, I'm very excited about that. Does this story seem relevant? My gosh, yes. It's such a great read. It's compelling. It's infuriating. You will feel everything while reading this. But yes, it's still a cautionary tale for authors today because I don't think that we have we improved? Probably. Is there still somebody out there that would be more than happy to take advantage of someone who didn't know better? Yes, they're everywhere. Just this morning in my inbox, there was someone trying to claim that they had read my book and that they were a marketing professional and they were going to help me out. Scam. Yeah. Everything they were saying about it was just like chatbot driven. It was basically just my book description rewritten. They are out there everywhere. So it's so important to be cautious and to protect your work as much as you can.
Don't sign anything unless you've gotten somebody with more experience and has laid eyes on it. Jesse, you've been to WriterCon, I don't know how many years now. We always have a bunch of agents. I'm not sure people, writers, aspiring writers really understand how important it is to have somebody looking over your shoulder and taking care of things like this. What do you think?
I think anyone who is in the creative field has to be careful about their own personal IP. I hate using terms like that, but you either have to find someone who can help you protect yourself, because again, we're only experts in the things we care about, right? Like you all care about writing, I care about podcasting. What I don't care about is like QuickBooks and keeping track of things, right? So
Right.
when you get to that point, you have to find someone, and spend a little money to protect yourself so that you don't get scammed, and two, aren't, not doing something you should be doing.
Yep, that's great. And anytime art intersects with commerce, they're going to pull in opposite directions, I think. And yeah, it's just too easy to be taken advantage of.
I think our listeners would like to hear the kind of scams I get as a podcast producer.
Please. Yes.
And so let me tell you, the amount of like VCs who email me wanting to buy my company, it's like 7 a week.
Oh
and
my
I'm just
gosh.
I'm like, no, you're not going to pay me millions of dollars for my podcasting company of 12 clients. So, I mean, it'd be great if it was true.
If it was true, you'd be set, Jesse.
Oh man, I'd be starting podcast companies left and right.
You would be.
Wow.
And that's like me. I'd be popping up on the bestseller lists all over the place, like Bill here. If all of these marketing people, if it was true, they're gonna make me a bestseller overnight.
I know.
Yeah, I got email from Rebecca Yaros this week, except not really. It was some scam. But AI made a very convincing presentation. Now I'm getting email in which, some AI has clearly either read the book or listened to an interview where I talked about the Superman wars. So if you didn't know better, you'd think the author of this email is an expert and, drooling over your work. But really, they're just trying to get either your info or your money, one or the other.
Listen, I stick with my hot take. Scams should be run by humans and not computers.
Yes. The AI. Okay, this is what I tell my students in class. Don't bother using the AI because it's so blatantly obvious. Like it doesn't even do that great of a job. There's so many tip-offs you can tell.
Yeah.
So
real people aren't that polite. Like AI is still way too polite. So
that too. All right. Today, our interview is with a very special guest and friend of the podcast, the reigning queen of romance, Eloisa James. She is a powerhouse of historical romance with more than 6 million books in print. In fact, actually, I think it's over 7 now, 28 languages, 30 countries. She wrote a best-selling memoir that was Paris in Love. She's written a contemporary novel, Lizzie and Dante. But her new book, The Last Lady B, has been described as Jane Austen meets the White Lotus.
Ooh, nice.
We're going to talk to her about that and much, much more. But first, the news. News story number 1. Character AI will let you chat with your favorite fictional characters. So Character AI, just to bring you up to date, is an artificial intelligence entertainment platform, I guess. They've been allowing people to chat on there for a while, but now they've got a new feature that allows users to basically role play in the worlds of more than 20 classic books like Alice's Adventures in Wonderland or Pride and Prejudice, Great Gatsby, Hamlet. And you can engage in these open-ended chat. You can be a character in the book, or you can be someone talking to the character in the book. You can live in that world. You can live in your world. You can create your own character and enter into their world. You can stay in the context of the book, or you can go off script, so to speak. And, you can do alternate universe remixes. You can put Elizabeth Bennet from Pride and Prejudice in outer space or whatever feels fun. And then your remixes can be shared with other people in that character AI community. Now, some people were concerned that this would encourage people to sort of play around with classic literature rather than actually reading it. But they say, no, we're not replacing books. We're, and this is a quote, making them impossible to ignore. As you probably guess, they do have policies that prohibit, well, every weird thing that should be prohibited. And I will just leave it at that.
Stuff.
Yeah, that kind of weird stuff. Now, I know you're thinking, I don't know, am I going to do this? Does this sound weird or kind of cool? But being your intrepid reporter, I, took it upon myself to check it out. So I logged on yesterday and started an AI conversation with Have you guessed already? Supergirl.
Oh.
Well, okay. If you want to do one of the book worlds, that was expensive, but I could talk to Supergirl just hanging around. Jesse's got a screenshot. At first, it was all pretty normal, what you'd think. She likes to fly and, help people. And then she started talking to me about how she likes to listen to music and go for long walks. She didn't say on the beach. She didn't mention looking at the sunset or anything, but I found out that her favorite musician was Beyonce. Who knew? She's particularly fond of Halo. And about then I got bored because what is the point of this? Jesse, does this sound like a fun thing to do?
So first of all, I'm going to talk about the problem with this at the end. What I like about this is the opportunity to sort of have fun with stories and play with plot holes that exist so that the plot can continue, right? For example, I would love to talk to Elrond's council in the Lord of the Rings, be like, hey, why don't we ask the Eagles right now if they can just fly us over Mount Doom and see what happens to the story then? Any sort of I would love to just yell at Hamlet to stop moping and, do something about it. So I think there's an opportunity to engage with a story in a really fun way. My concern is who's getting the money from this? Is it only things that are in the public domain first? Is it if I'm dealing with say a Brandon Sanderson book, is he getting any money from any of this? Or is it just this company getting it?
Right. Well, that's why they've used classic titles, I think.
I think it's all in the public domain.
Properties that, although I did talk to Supergirl, who I'm pretty sure is not in the public domain.
True.
But
That's true.
I like that. Yeah, but you couldn't do an adventure with her, right? There's a Q&A part and an adventure part, right?
Probably.
Yeah, so where is that money going?
Yeah. Where's the money?
I like your idea of rewriting the book, though. Could I enter into Jane Eyre probably and say, hey, Jane, don't be stupid. Just go up into the attic. Say hi. Take the edge off. But whatever.
Hey, what's his face in The Great Gatsby? Just stop drinking for a minute.
Just for a minute.
Just 1 minute. I think what's happening to you will be perfectly clear.
The world will be so much clearer. Yeah. I don't know. I'm thinking about their quote about encouraging people to engage with literature. Lara, you think this would actually encourage young people to read? Are you going to chat with Jay Gatsby and then go read the book?
And then be compelled to go read it? I don't know.
Well, you probably think it'd be really boring after the AI interface. But
I'm skeptical of that. I would like to think that would be more true than not true, but I'm pretty skeptical. This seems like another thing to pull attention to the screen and keep it there. And it does seem like, we're being recorded. It does. It seems like such a waste of time to me. It doesn't.
I will say this is one positive step towards the future where we can have a holodeck where we can do our own, Sherlock adventure as playing Sherlock himself and let the computer make the mystery for us and hopefully not create an entity that will take over the ship.
Yeah. I mean, the first computer games were all text driven and look what they do now. Could I enter into Wonderland?
If it could actually lead us to something like that and was completely immersive.
That would be fun. Because the first part of building an immersive thing is allowing the world to do things on its own without you so that it feels real when you walk into it. So if this is step one of that, great. If this is just AI again trying to create art and not just making my life easier, then I'm annoyed at it.
All right, news story number 2. Here's some happy news. Stolen rare books resurfaced after 40 years. Yes, 40. What are the odds? But it happened. A tall stack of rare books worth millions of dollars, almost $3 million, were returned to the heirs of the people who once owned them in New York City, decades after they were snatched. This is 17 different historic works. I sent Jesse pictures of some of them. There's a James Joyce early signed edition of Finnegan's Wake. There's letters from Keats, letters Keats wrote to Fanny Braun, for Pete's sake, love letters. Oh my gosh. And they just disappeared for decades, but then suddenly popped up again because some guy was trying to pawn them off to some Manhattan booksellers. To be fair, the guy who tried to sell them inherited them from his grandfather. Mm-hmm. How granddad got them, we don't know, but the grandson is not suspected of anything because he wasn't even born when the theft happened. The books have now been returned to the original owners, who say they're going to auction the books and give the proceeds to charity. Lara, are you as amazed? What?
Yeah. What? I need all the details. What in the world? How did these get stolen? How did they, where were they? What is
this? They disappeared.
And then somehow the Manhattan booksellers knew that these were part of a stolen collection. That was pretty brilliant.
Well, I would expect if somebody walked into the store with a letter from Keats to Fanny Braun, that, it's either a fake or it's something that's off the books for some reason. And I would expect they started to investigate. Okay,
I need the girls from Crime Junkie to go dig into this and do a deep dive and do an episode on these books.
What's the legal term for a time period a crime has to be?
Statute of limitations?
Yeah, what's the statute of limitations on book theft?
Stolen
Is it 40 years?
Yeah, well, I don't. That's state by state, so I don't know what it is in New York, but I don't know whether
if it's 39 years, that'd be very funny. So
not funny. That's annoying. No.
I suspect that's still not an option, but who cares? They got the books back finally.
Yeah, that's true.
How cool is that? All right, shall we move on to Craft Corner? We've got a special entry here. Lauren Smith, a terrific USA Today bestselling writer who, by the way, will also be teaching at this year's WriterCon Retreat. She's here today talking about the 5 essential ingredients to writing romantasy, many of which I might add, as I listened to this, I thought that's good stuff to consider no matter what you're writing. So here it is. Take it away, Lauren Smith.
Craft Corner.
Hi, I'm Lauren Smith, and I write romance, romantasy, historical fiction, and cozy mysteries. And I'm going to talk to you today about the basics of writing a romantasy novel. There are essentially 5 steps, and I'm going to go through kind of the basics of each step. Step 1, you should determine your primary content genre. So if you're writing romantasy, the first thing you'll want to do is figure out what your story's primary content genre is. The biggest difference between fantasy romance and, say, romantic fantasy lies in how authors mix and prioritize their content genres. So what is a content genre? Content genres tell writers what kind of content they need to include in their story to deliver on readers' expectations. And this is incredibly important if you're writing anything that you want to really sell well. Meeting those readers' expectations is crucial. So these are things like what kind of plot events need to happen, what kind of character roles need to be filled, what kind of conflict the characters will face, and what's at stake or what the characters stand to lose or gain. And there are more, but those are some of the basic reader expectations you for sure need to know how to meet. So if you're writing fantasy romance, your primary content genre will be romance. That means that the romance genre elements really do need to take precedence over any action genre or fantasy elements you choose to include in the story, because the romantic relationship is the most crucial element of everything in your story. So if you're writing romantic fantasy, you'll need to choose a content genre other than romance to represent your external plot. In most cases, this primary content genre of romantic fantasy stories is going to be action, which means there's action genre elements that are going to take place over romance elements as far as kind of a hierarchical importance. Remember that in romantic fantasy stories, there needs to be something bigger at stake. So think of like an external plot that puts characters in dangerous life or death situations and tests their ability to survive. And then the romantic relationship serves to support or cause conflict to the main storyline, even if it feels like the romance is an equal part of the story to the readers. The second thing I want to talk about is uncovering your story's theme. So most romantasy stories speak to themes of love or friendship or belonging or survival. But depending on your subgenre, you'll want to speak to these themes in slightly different ways. So, for example, if you're writing fantasy romance, your story will speak to the power of love. The central question of those stories is something like, Will these two characters get together? Will they stay together despite everything standing in their way? In other words, how strong is that love? Can it conquer all? Will their love survive whatever else the plot throws at them? If you're writing romantic fantasy, your story will need to speak primarily to what it takes to survive. This is where you're pinging on the fantasy element. The central question of these stories is something like, will the protagonist survive this dangerous situation? If so, how? In other words, what does it take to survive? And then the romantic relationship factor and the protagonist's ability to survive, will that be affected positively or negatively throughout the story? Number 3, brainstorm a plot with appropriate stakes. Although fantasy romance and romantic fantasy stories include many of the same elements, they're fundamentally different. If you're writing fantasy romance, the romantic relationship takes center stage. This means key plot points in your stories need to revolve around the romantic relationship, bringing your characters together as soon as possible in Act 1, giving them that HEA, happily ever after, or HFN, happy for now. If you're going to include any action genre elements in your story, remember that these elements need to serve as a subplot or more of a backdrop to the central romantic storyline. The goal is to use these subplots or fantasy action genre elements to complicate the couple's ability to be together for one reason or another. Number 4, develop the relationship between characters. Whether you're writing fantasy romance or romantic fantasy, the relationship between your characters is critical to your story's success. So you need to ask yourself these critical questions. How does each character feel about love? Do they want love? If they want it, why do they want it? Do they avoid or fear love? That's my personal favorite. If so, why are they avoiding or fearing it? Do they feel undeserving of that love? Why? And then how do these beliefs change by the end of the story? And I think that's the most important part is I like to focus on the idea of what's your mistaken belief. What does your character mistakenly believe about themselves or about the world? And then how does that change by the end of the story? And that's essentially the easiest way to look at a character arc. And then number 5, build your world so it develops plot and character. Depending on where your story fits on the romantasy genre spectrum, readers will have slightly different expectations for your world building. If you're writing fantasy romance, consider how the story world impacts the central romantic relationship. Consider things like societal rules, such as those relating to marriage or courtship. Could those create obstacles to your couple being together? Or maybe in your world, there's a circumstance that forces the couple together, like an arranged marriage between kingdoms. That is another one of my personal favorites. Or maybe the physical needs or powers of one character could pose a threat to the other if they're not controlled. That's also another great one because you can have, say, 2 characters who one of them has an uncontrollable power and the other one is a danger to that power or incites that power to be even stronger. But in the end, that second character may be able to influence or gently control or help the other character control that uncontrollable power by the end, and it kind of works together. I recently did that in a paranormal romance. If you're writing romantic fantasy, know that readers will expect more of an emphasis on world building and fantastic elements than they might from fantasy romance books. You'll need to create a story that's ripe for life or death conflicts and that puts your protagonist in dangerous situations while also developing a place where the romantic relationship can thrive or be challenged. Those are my 5 basic tips. Obviously, you can go much deeper into any of these subtopics, but I hope that helps.
Thank you, Lauren Smith. Now let's talk to Eloisa James. Eloisa James, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you.
So glad to have you here. Now, you already know this. The first question is always if you could offer writers one piece of advice, which you've done. So you can either repeat that and see if anyone notices, or you can come up with your second piece of advice for writers. But if you could today offer one piece of advice, what would it be?
So I would still say that my first piece of advice is really important. So go back and take a look at that. But I think that people take their writing time way too seriously. So they're constantly writing me and saying, I'm blocked, I'm this, I'm that, I'm the other thing. My advice is that you do 25-minute writing sprints, which we discussed last time as well. But that you start the timer, you talk to a friend, and you don't take yourself so seriously. Just do it. It's
How much
labor.
can I get done in 20
not,
it's just 25 minutes.
It's just 25 minutes and anybody can find that. And what a relief. Instead of thinking, well, I guess if I can't devote 3 to 6 hours on this, it's just too much, then yeah, no, I like that.
Yeah, I think people just take it too seriously, honestly. And I know I write romance and memoir and stuff, so I'm not writing great literature, but I grew up with a father who was writing great literature. He won the American Book Award for poetry, and he worked as labor. He wrote a poem every single day, and most of them were utter crap. And he threw them into this extra bathtub he had in his writing house.
An extra bathtub.
and then at some point, did he turn on the water? Well, we normally ask people how they got started as writers, but I think you gave a hint because both of your parents, Robert Bly, who you just mentioned, and your mom were both writers, correct?
They were. Yep. Yeah. So it was a writing household. We didn't have TV. We didn't have, we had a lot of books, and we had a lot of, what are you writing this weekend? What's your project? What are you going to write this summer? And my father and my mother at the dinner table saying, here's what I wrote today. Here's what I think of, this author. Here's where Tolstoy went wrong. Remember that, things. So it was a household that revolved around the ability that anyone can write, the belief that anyone can write. Is hard labor will get you there.
So it's possibly no huge surprise that you're here. You were talking about writing romance novels, amongst other things, but you also have sort of a double life because you're also a Shakespearean professor at Fordham University, right?
But I quit to write full time on January 1st.
This year?
Oh. Yep.
Is that do you miss it already, or are you just glad you got so much? Oh, okay.
No, I miss teaching. I love teaching. Yeah. I'm going to pick up more teaching of writing, but I've been teaching Shakespeare day in, day out for 27 years. And
That's a while.
It's a long time. And it's been fascinating to watch, what students' view of Hamlet has changed so much over 20 years. To be like, I don't like him. He's a complainer. I don't like him. He's a sexual predator. It's fascinating. And I'm going to have to be careful to be able to make sure that I catch what young people are thinking now, whereas they used to tell me. But it is so fun to just write full time. I've never done it before, and it's lovely.
Very nice. I'd like to ask you, I'm currently reading Jodi Picoult's By Any Other Name. Have you read that?
No, I haven't.
Should I? Interesting. Have you read some about Amelia Bassano and the current belief that she very possibly could have written quite a few of Shakespeare's plays? It's pretty fascinating. And I heard Jodi Picoult speak last year at the Literary Voices, and she talked about the deep research that she did and how she didn't include anything if it wasn't based in fact, based in something that she actually saw. So I'm curious about that. I haven't heard any of that.
Any of the alternate Shakespeare theories?
No.
Based on your expertise?
No.
It wasn't really Queen Elizabeth or something.
No, it wasn't. And I think it's lovely. I mean, the Earl of Oxford is always trying to prove that his former relative did it because he would like to claim Shakespeare.
That comes up too, yes.
Named that other women have done it. I don't think Shakespeare would care. I've never got into those arguments at cocktail parties because I don't think he would care. Yeah. But I will say that my understanding is that AI has analyzed the language very carefully and shown the extent to which the jokes, for example, in a given play are adhered to that given year. He was a great language thief. I mean, Ben Jonson would have a joke and say, put it in 1603, and you see it show up in Shakespeare's play in 1604, dirty puns in particular. He loved those, puns on a member as a penis,
Sure.
And it would bop around all the plays in London. So you can track very closely that language. And of course, those huge data sets are open to AI. And my understanding is, I haven't, looked at this as Shakespearean gossip, is that it's pretty much been nailed down. They know, like they published, for example, Macbeth, as we have it, has been published in two different with the text in black and in blue, because we know that was edited, and they were able to separate out the language that came in later, which is a really interesting addition. It's fun to look at. The more jaunty sort of witch songs were written after Shakespeare. Shakespeare's witches were scarier.
Well, it's a fascinating idea. I don't know if ultimately, it will change my mind, but it's very intriguing to entertain and think about what might have happened. So it's very cool. But we're here to talk about your books. And you've actually written 28 books and sold over 7 million.
Over 30 now.
Is it more now?
Yeah.
30 now. You've sold millions of copies. And now we have The Last Lady B. Can you tell us about that new novel?
So The Last Lady B is new for me. One of the challenges of having such a long career, my first book came out in 2000, is that you've got to keep challenging yourself or you're just calling it in. And I've seen a million careers die by the wayside. So those of you who are watching who are maybe writers and want to have a long career, you have got to keep writing new stuff. So I decided I love writing historical romance. I understand like the genre intrinsically, but I decided I need to try something different. And the Amazon Vela program was really fun because it taught me sort of more about Dickens, about how to end in a cliffhanger. And it kind of led gradually to the idea of writing a Gothic-esque. So I'm calling it Gothic adjacent. Here it is. So
Nice.
It is my first novel that's got a ghost in it. And it's set on Gothic foundations, like I was really thinking of Jane Austen, how she makes fun of the Gothic novel in Northanger Abbey while writing one. Yeah. So I kind of do that too. My heroine is married to an elderly man who's going up to a haunted abbey with her husband, where his first 3 wives all died and are supposedly walking battlements. Okay. And she's read all the books, just like Jane Austen had, because we know Jane Austen's name was on all those Gothic subscriptions. So she's read all of them. So she can't wait to, talk to one of those wives about what he's really like. And, so things happen, daring do. It's also new for me because it's in first person.
Nice.
So, and also a new publisher. I published, I think, 32 books with HarperCollins, and now I moved to Simon & Schuster. So
went across the street.
Down the street a little, yeah.
Down the street, okay.
I love ghost stories, so I can't wait to read this one. That sounds super fun.
Well, and so did Shakespeare, obviously, and see how I cleverly segued back to the Shakespeare thing. But Jane Austen's in this book, and I'm wondering about, here's where I'm going. I know that you recently wrote, or you did a video, right, talking about the Taylor Swift song, The Fate of Ophelia. How did that come to your horizon of things to do?
Well, because I've been teaching Shakespeare and pop culture for years at Fordham. Right. It's a great class to teach because you get the kids in advertising and the kids in the School of Business. And, if I teach the Shakespeare lecture, I've got English students who are great and theater students, but teach Shakespeare and pop culture and you get this wide variety of students, which I like. I like teaching a lot of different people. And so I had taught always Taylor Swift's love story, which is Romeo and Juliet. And I did see in the New York Times, she said it was her favorite song still. And I've always taught that video because it is a fascinating interpretation of Romeo and Juliet. She was very young and very mad at her parents for not letting her go on a date, apparently. So this is what she just said in the New York Times. So when she had The Fate of Ophelia coming out, I just listened to it and then I said what I thought of it. I think she's an incredibly smart woman. And it did go viral. So that was cool. Went well over
Earlier in this podcast, we did a story about this outfit called Character AI, which basically allows you to chat online. You're talking to an AI program, obviously, but the illusion is you're chatting with a character from a fictional book, like you're actually entering into this fictional world that's been created. And one of them is, of course, Hamlet. You see yourself logging in and having a long chat with Ophelia, telling her to get in shape
Fuck up,
already? I know.
get some therapy and get some meds. No, I don't. I mean, one of the challenging things about writing historical fiction, like the kind I write, which is historical romance or gothic romance, is that I don't get into areas where somebody would need therapy. So I don't deal with child abuse. I don't deal with domestic violence. And, Hamlet and Ophelia, I don't deal with suicidal ideation. So yeah, I mean, it's a disturbing idea because, okay, fine, Hamlet, right? But my books were all used to train AI, right? I'm named on those websites, on the
Anthropic.
I'm named on the Meta website, actually, on the Meta lawsuit. There's OpenAI, Meta, and ChatGPT, and then Anthropic. And Anthropic settled, which, I have a lot of respect for that. They were like, hey, we shouldn't have done it. And they put this money aside for the authors. But the rest of them didn't. And I find it disturbing. Anthropic then promised that Claude had forgotten all the novels. So I logged into Claude, right? Because you can log into these things. And I was like, I can't remember what I asked. Like, what do you think? And what do you think of my novels? And he said, oh, I've read Paris in Love. I was like, how did you read Paris in Love? Yeah. I thought, and then he came back and he said, oh, forgive me, I overstepped. I've only read the reviews. Well, I know he actually read Paris in Love because it was it's on the list of stolen books. So, I don't know, speak to a character. We're going to talk to Jodi Picoult's character. That will have been stolen from her.
Most likely. I think all of us were hit in some way. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's unpleasant.
Yeah, you've written a bunch of romance novels, as you said, in addition to many other things, a memoir and a contemporary novel now. But you did an op-ed piece for the New York Times, which was basically in defense of romance fiction. How did that come about?
They asked for it for Valentine's Day.
Really? They asked for it? Oh, Valentine's.
I tend to be a talking head kind of thing. I just wrote one for the Wall Street Journal that they are supposedly editing, which is why historical romance is rising, right? Because it's rising in film and novels. So Bridgerton, of course, but we have Pride and Prejudice coming out, Sense and Sensibility. There's a new Jane Eyre coming out. There's a lot of really exciting films, but also, novels, like people picking up the past and doing exciting things. And so I wrote an article saying that, these are difficult times and people are escaping into the past.
Yes.
So I don't know if they'll go for it, but they asked for it, so they got it.
Interesting. You talked some about, your advice to authors was the 25-minute sprint. Don't take your writing time quite so seriously. Can we expand on that? Would you describe your writing process?
Sure. So I do 25-minute sprints. I sprint with a friend. I think last time I talked to you, I was sprinting with a friend who was writing historical fiction. Right at the moment, I'm sprinting with one of the staff writers on The New Yorker. So, in other words, it doesn't have to be in your field. Gotcha. Our works are way apart. But it is kind of accountability, right? Accountability is one of the big problems if you're a writer. It's so easy to do other stuff. You're like, well, I better do social media or no one will read my books. I'd better, do some marketing or no one will read my books. You can take those byways, right? But my advice is when you get up in the morning, you just do the labor first. It's as if I grew up on a farm. My grandfather was a farmer. You get up on a farm, you got to go feed the cows first. Mm-hmm. Do at least 2, maybe 4 sprints. And then do the more fun stuff, or then digress and do the laundry or whatever.
How do you break up the sprints? What do you do? So you do 25 minutes of writing and then is there like...
We're on Zoom. So we turn off the phone and turn off the visual and the sound and we count 25 minutes. So I have one friend who likes to have the timer going because Zoom will give you a timer. Mostly, though, we just go and then whoever recognizes 25 minutes gone starts yelling into the thing and the other person comes back. Then you stop and you say, what happened? Okay, how did it go? And usually people say things like, I didn't really get going. I had to answer my agent and on the first one. And it's like, get your together here.
Yes.
How to do it. And I usually spend the first one rereading what I did the day before. that I let myself do that because it's only work. There's nothing mystical about writing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a matter of writing and rewriting and rewriting and rewriting, right? That's what makes it good. But you also have to do other things. You have to be reading all the time, in my opinion. And I don't read just romance. I read huge amounts of stuff. I read anything I can find that's funny. I mean, any script I can find that's funny, especially British ones, because that helps me a lot. Blackadder, I own all those scripts, and I'll read them again and again and again.
Interesting. I love that. Are you a pantser or a planner? Did we talk about this before? Do you actually like outline out, or do you just kind of get your ideas and go?
I go. Yeah,
Okay.
I go because I have to tear down so much, and I often have to lose like the first 150 pages. The sequel to The Last Lady B is in my publisher, in my editor, and it just went in after the third revision of the first 100 pages, which was just brutal. You know, I had to cut so much, but I love writing a clever scene. I love it when they get clever and they're having a fun dialogue and it's so great. And then my editor's like, yeah, no.
No, we have to let
Not good enough to keep. Yeah.
When do you guys meet for your sprints? What does your writing day look like? Like get up and hit it right away? Or you guys?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you guys write in the morning or?
I do. Lara, less so. But I'll let you answer.
I still have a day job. My writing doesn't pay bills yet. So my writing is on the side and in between and wherever I can squeeze a few minutes in. But not so much lately.
For years, I said I'm a Shakespeare professor first and a writer second. And, you know, Shakespeare is easy. Professor is easy because you got the summers off and you can really go. But I know exactly what that's like. But again, you can find 25 minutes somewhere.
Yes.
3 times a week, maybe, you know?
Yes.
Just set yourself a bar.
Absolutely.
Sure. Well, we've got Lady B. What can we look forward to in the future from you?
Well, okay, so Lady B will have not a sequel, but another Gothic called The Only Miss C, which is also set in Scotland and also has some haunted issues, which is fun.
Some of the same characters, same world, or what's the connection? No connection.
No connection, but the same Gothic adjacent first person, quite different though, really more Dickens orphan kind of situation. But funny, I hope. And then so I'm writing those. I'm writing 4 historical romance novellas right now, which are like the Duke's rejected bride, the Viscount's rejected fiance. There's 4 rejected novels, and I'm going to bring them out. They're really fun. And I started them out. It's this family that has been fighting since the Middle Ages. And so each novella starts with a little fake history of the fight they had, like during the time of Henry VIII, when one of them was accused of sleeping with Anne Boleyn and, you know, like that. And so those will be going into Kickstarter in the fall, for a box set. Yeah. I'm currently peripherally in Julia Quinn's Kickstarter, because Julia Quinn, who wrote Bridgerton, started a historical romance subscription box, and she chose The Last Lady B as her first book in that subscription box, which was fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you don't like this cover, you can go to Kickstarter and Julia Quinn and get a fabulous hardcover with like flecked edges and, you know.
Oh, yes.
Inside illustrations
and sprayed edges. I love those.
It's very pretty. Yeah. And so I watched her Kickstarter. I learned a lot from watching her and getting her advice. And so I figured I'm not expecting hers went for like, I don't know, $700,000 in the end. Mine's going to be smaller potatoes, but I think it'll be fun. And I'm just always looking for a challenge. So, and then the other thing I'm doing is that I'm going to a conference in Las Vegas called Author Nation. And it also has attached conference Reader Nation, which has, you know, lots of readers coming in on Saturday. And they did a couple of Kickstarters, one of which was an anthology for graphic novellas. And I thought, you know, I'm really intrigued by graphic novellas. And one of the things they said was, they pay for a Marvel Comics level illustrator. But, I would have no idea how to find an illustrator.
Right.
It always just kind of been in the back of my mind, like manga's interesting, I've been published in Japan in various forms, but so I had a free story hanging around, and I gave it, I kind of shaped it into a graphic novel. And now I'm going back and forth with the illustrator. His name is Hector. And it's really fascinating because he's never done, fancy lady gown, but he's really into it. And so he's sending all these queries, and he went to look at the church where they get married, and he looked at what it would have been like in 1805. The two dogs would not have been there because they're Victorian, some sort of statues of dogs. I was like, this is great.
This is so exciting. You have so many great opportunities.
It's going to be really fun. Yeah. So that's an anthology that's coming out. Andy Weir is the keynote, and he has a story in there. So it's going to have a very wide audience. And I think that's also fun.
Yes.
Oh, no kidding. Should be great. Well, I guess that brings us to the end. Eloisa, it's always a pleasure to have you on the podcast. Thanks for joining us today.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for asking me back on. I really enjoy it.
Hope to see you again soon, preferably for that graphic novel project. I want to talk about that. So.
Okay. Right.
All right. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Just a few parting words. First of all, you knew I was going to say this before I even said it. I've got a new book out. It's called The Superman Wars. And
Buy
it
his
is
book.
about... Yes.
Buy it.
That should be your mantra in the background. Subliminal.
I said this last time and I didn't do it. I'm going to do it this time, which is I'm going to insert the scene from The Critic where he's just like, buy my book. Buy my book. It's just like a standee where his arm waves. Anyway.
I can't stop you. You're the engineer.
All right. I'm getting it right now.
This book is about a writer, after all, people, just like you, and the struggles he suffered are still with us today. It does have a happy ending, or a happier ending, but only because people stood up to power and fought. Jerry Siegel was the first American writer to sue his publishers, and now many other writers are benefiting from his fight. Whether you're interested in comic books or not, this is a book I believe has universal relevance, particularly to creatives like us. I should also mention the WriterCon Retreat. That's in July. It's not that far away. It's at Canebrake Resort. That's not far from Tulsa. Lauren Smith will be there, like I mentioned, and John Woolley, who's also been on the podcast. Great writer. Agent Hunter Strickland will be there. Laura, you're going to be there, aren't you?
I am going to be there, and I can't wait. I'm already looking forward to it. I'm going to get out, go for walks, use the spa, use the workout room. This is really a time, though, when we mesh as an entire group. We have our meals together. You're going to get a chance to sit and chat with everybody all the time. Like it really is an immersive experience. It's just us there, and you'll be able to talk to us all the time. Like it's really wonderful.
Yeah. Plus, because we keep the group small, we can read your work for reals and actually give you one-on-one feedback, which to me is the most fun part of teaching. That's when I feel like I can really do some good.
Amazed and delighted at some of the change that I have seen in that it's 5 days. In that short amount of time, I have seen books just completely pivot and turn into something where I'm like, okay, now I'm ready to read the whole book. I mean, it doesn't matter what level you're at. You will improve.
Yeah, sometimes happens pretty quickly. Also should mention the annual WriterCon conference. That's Labor Day weekend, which is September 4th through 7th in Oklahoma City. Over 60 writers, over 100 sessions. I've been building the schedule this week, and I'm kind of biased, but I think it's incredible. We're covering every aspect of writing I can think of. That's a ways off, but I mention it now because the early bird price is about to go away. It goes away at the end of May. So if you're thinking about going, this is the time to register. You can get more information from our website, which of course is writercon.com. All right. Until next time, keep writing. And remember, you cannot fail if you refuse to quit. See you next time.